Okay, we watched Carl's video, and he recommended we watch Ubisoft's video, who he also worked with to discover this fake blindfold speedrun, blindfolded speedrun. um, it says caught red-handed, streamer fakes a blindfold speedrun. Why can't I say that? Blindfolded speedrun. And yeah, I want to see what Ubisoft has to say. We've already got Asmongold on the screen. Because he believed it, but he didn't know, you know. I'm sure people who aren't speedrunners or aren't blindfolded speedrunners wouldn't be able to tell this. So anyways, let's get started on this one.
It's like if you want to see a real investigation, claim that you did something in a video game that didn't actually happen, and you're going to get people that put more work into that than their entire time at college. Cheating.
What people don't like liars? Like, it's not fair. Why do you get to have lots of fame for something you lied about?
A blindfolded run is
there are people who work really hard on something like this.
So you can perform the run again, only to double down and cheat a second time, is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. With increased proof standards, you'd think that faking another run would be difficult, but the method used was so obvious, you'll wonder how Queen Ponzalot thought she could pull it off without getting caught. Today I'll show you how the investigation into a second run progressed and what our initial theories were before we arrived at the truth. So let's start with how we got here.
It's like, okay, she got caught the first time, but like at the same time, there's always going to be this tiny little percentage of the fact that she could have just done it honestly. So I guess that's where she got her bravery to do it again. I wouldn't even do it the first time, though, so.
Asmongold would watch Queen's first run on stream and was quite impressed with it, as he was currently stuck on Elytron himself. I don't blame Asmongold for being fooled by this, since he doesn't have experience with blindfolded runs, but looking at her Discord, it was planned to get the video in front of him. Wanting the attention of a big streamer is a double-edged sword, because while it does amplify your viewership, it also gets you in front of experts such as Juicy. And
True. And I found that a little suspicious, like trying to get it in front of him just a little bit. I can understand why someone would want that, because that would help you know, escalate your channels, but it's like when you put it all together, it looks weird.
In this case, he uploaded a video of his own pointing out all of the inconsistencies with her run. Asmongold would watch this as well and
well, sorry, because it is annoying. That's another reason it's annoying, because he is not promoting. He is kind of featuring somebody who a lot of experts think lied, and some people work so hard on just speedruns in general. I can't even imagine doing it blindfolded. Yeah, I can see why people would be mad.
That if Queen could do
not
this
at
again,
him,
it would clear up everything.
but at her.
Not one to shy away from Asmongold's attention, she created a video announcing February 14th as the date her next run would be performed. But this time, she would obey stricter proof standards. Covers over 2 of her monitors, a hand cam, input display, and a community-approved blindfold would be the measures she implemented to help prove her legitimacy. This time, she was leaving no room for doubt and even double-checked her chat to make sure she wasn't missing anything. In the lead-up to this,
she should have recorded her whole room.
Elytron was performed by Kaye, and the huge difference you'll notice is the strats he used. In addition to using lock-on targeting instead of free cam, he chose to use the dual blades instead of a weapon like the greatsword that relies on headshots. For Queen's second run, I fully expected the strategy she used to be actual blindfolded strats, so she could claim that she could actually do a blindfolded run, but that's not what happened. In fact, what happened baffled me. Her first few attempts did not go well, and while watching, I got the feeling we weren't going to see a repeat kill.
Look at those faces she's making, too.
But on her 8th
she didn't do that before. I'm only mentioning this because I already watched Carl's video, so I can see that she's acting weird
and proceeded to kill the boss. My first impression was that the run had to be legit given the proof standards, but once I had the chance to analyze it, I began to realize that it had a ton of problems. In the last video, we established that vertical camera movement with the mouse is never performed while blindfolded because you have no audio cues or other form of feedback to help you get it recentered. This was a key piece of evidence in her first run that something was amiss, and in this run, we see 2 things. The first is that she's using the Alt button to recenter the camera periodically, as it will have the camera go back to a neutral position. This behavior was entirely absent from the first run, however, and the head tracking was once again present and obvious. It's safe to say that blindfolded runs of Monster Hunter are tough, And if you're thinking about attempting one, maybe you should try this video's sponsor, Unicorn Overlord, instead. From the studio that brought you 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim and published by the group behind Persona, Unicorn Overlord is a brand new take on the tactical fantasy RPG. With overworld exploration and an innovative battle system, Unicorn Overlord allows you to explore a vibrant world while amassing an army with over 60 unique characters. This gives you deep options when building your army, as there are various synergies for offense and defense between the different classes. The rapport system allows you to deepen the bonds between characters, letting them give each other stat increases and narrative progression moments as rapport builds. The main way of increasing rapport is by having units battle together, but it can also be gained by bestowing special gifts and holding feasts. If you're like me and love the tactical RPGs of the 90s, you'll enjoy the classic 32-bit battle system with modern 2D aesthetic graphics.
I like the art style.
With over 40 hours of gameplay. Unicorn Overlord releases March 8th, but the demo is live right now, and all of your progress carries over to the full game. So use my link and start building your army right now. And with that, let's get back to the investigation. In this clip, we see that not only does she track the dragon's head in the vertical, but she also keeps the head centered on screen as she moves under the boss, which isn't possible as there's no audio feedback.
Yeah, look at that circle she just did.
She goes from the front of the dragon to the side and rotates the camera perfectly to keep the head centered in the screen. This isn't behavior that's possible while blindfolded, and if we dive deeper, we see more of the same old tricks. The attack where the boss swipes doesn't have an audio cue until it's already traveling towards you, but this doesn't stop her from dodging before the cue plays. Not only this, but the attack comes from the opposite direction based on where you're standing relative to a Latreon, and the dodge needs to be performed towards it or you'll be hit. But somehow, Queen not only manages to dodge before the audio cue, she also gets the direction right every single time. Even with 3D audio, doing this correctly with a 100% success rate shouldn't be possible, but there's another action she takes that has no audio cues, and that's how she interacts with the ledge. There are small ledges all throughout the arena, and they have a unique interaction when you roll into an attack. If you roll on a flat surface and press attack, it won't cue to start the attack when the roll is completed. This means you need to finish a roll before the game will register an attack input. But ledges break this mechanic. If you roll off a ledge, your roll gets cancelled and you can attack right away, but there aren't any audio cues you're on a ledge.
I have multiple things I'm thinking. I think that some people get really confident with having like yes men, you know, big supporters, always support everything you do and say, no matter what. Even if she's lying, they'll still believe her. So I think in her own community, she just feels that confident and she's not checking herself. She's not making sure that she looks correct for the rest of us. She's just, she's too
silent piece of geometry. Despite this, she rolls off a ledge
into
and
her own
attacks
lie, I
immediately,
think.
which doesn't make sense, as an experienced player would know not to press attack this fast after a roll. But if she can see she's on a ledge, this makes perfect sense. Here's a comparison between a dodge roll into attack where she's on flat ground. You can see how much delay there is in a normal roll attack, but in the attack off the ledge, the delay is only 8 frames, almost double the time to cue a normal attack compared to a ledge cancel. Given that the same gameplay oddities were observed again, we were sure that something was going on, but they weren't the only things that stood out. At different times, she lost complete control of her character and would press Windows and Escape. They aren't on the input tracker, but it's quite obvious when she does, as her thumb moves for the Windows key and her entire hand moves for Escape. I had no clue why these two keys needed to be pressed or why she was losing control of the character, but something was pulling her focus from the game. After she...
Let's take a guess. Maybe she clicked off the screen on accident? I don't know. I'm just observing. I don't know anything about this stuff. I've watched speedrunners like sometimes, and that's it. I don't know the mechanics or whatever. I'm just saying.
Proof called her on the original blindfold.
Maybe she clicked off of it
and light checked again. As I pointed out in my previous video,
so
I knew it was
thin.
transparent, and in this run, it had been folded additional times so that it would pass the light check. But all this proof call earned me was a timeout. On Carl's video, the mod that timed me out commented that I had asked the question 20 times, and for the record, I asked twice and replied to mod comments about the proof call 5 times. A total of 7 chats over 5.5 minutes, but his second comment is worth some scrutiny.
Wow.
Somebody asks if he's saying that the blindfold doesn't unfold, and he triples down by saying that it doesn't. If that's the case, then why not say
how
that
do
on
you
screen
know
instead of saying that the material isn't?
How does the mod know? What?
Transparent and refusing the proof call. This even contradicts the mod's own statements in the stream because they said the blindfold was folded in the original run, but it being folded implies it can be unfolded, so which is it? I think that's all the analysis we need of the first blindfold since we know it was transparent and had obviously been tampered with when the check was performed in the second stream, and I think we can all agree that this idea to triple...
Also, like, okay, if she had to fold it over, it means that in the first one, it was not folded. It was thin, it was see-through, and therefore the first run is complete crap. Like, that's the problem with fixing yourself and doing another video. It still means that the first one was not legitimate.
Down on it is insane. Given that the run had many of the same issues as the first and had new problems to look into, I knew that this investigation would require a team as competent as Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, so I called in a friend. Carl and I tackled the investigation together, along with some Monster Hunter and Blindfolded speedrun experts. When we began, we asked ourselves if it could be legit, and decided that given the head tracking and dodging attacks before the sound cues, that it most certainly wasn't. Which left the question, how was it done? A common theory I saw commented was that she was playing over a pre-recorded video. This has been done before, as Lee SDA did this with a Yoshi's Island run, and
him again. I like how they just like
Mechar
call people out. Other ones
with a Metal Gear Rising run, but this isn't a good method
Same
of
guy.
cheating, and we could rule it out instantly. Since she was using an input display and hand cam, we could see that the inputs observed matched what was happening on screen, so playing over a pre-recorded run was easily ruled out. Another theory we thought might be possible was that someone else was playing off screen, but we crossed this out for the same reasons. The observed inputs matched the gameplay, so an off-screen player wasn't how this was done either. With two easy-to-perform methods of cheating out the window, we started thinking up more complex and esoteric explanations. Carl suggested that she could be using an aimbot or aim assist, and I thought that someone else might be playing through remote assistant. The reason we thought this was because of the head tracking and vertical camera movement, which we know is impossible while blindfolded, so we started testing these theories. For aimbot, there wasn't anything we could do at the moment, so Carl got in touch with a modder for Monster Hunter that had created one.
Yeah,
the way it
he
works
mentioned
is by
that.
hooking into the game's memory. From there, you can tell it what object you want it to look at. In this case, it's the different bones that make up the dragon's rig. It's turned on and off from the press of a button, so you can activate it as needed to quickly line up a shot, then turn it off before anyone suspects anything. But it's quite obvious if you turn it on from a greater distance, as it completely overrides your inputs and makes a beeline for whatever it's targeting. Another reason aimbot was suggested was because at certain times when her mouse was moving in one direction, we noticed that the input tracker would freak out and register inputs across multiple axes, and we had no way of explaining this other than an external force acting on the mouse. Aimbot was a good theory and would explain how she was able to track the head while blindfolded, but while Carl was investigating it, I was looking into Remote Assistant. Remote Assistance is a feature for Windows that allows someone else to control your PC at the same time as you, giving them access to your mouse and keyboard. I thought this was a plausible theory because it would explain the head tracking and glitchy mouse inputs, as I theorized the person using it would only try to move the camera while she was moving it. So what happened when we tested it? It wasn't a perfect test due to an ocean being between me and Juicy, but even with the giant amount of lag, we found that the input tracker perfectly tracked everything I tried to do, but it also had an additional problem. The second I made an adjustment, Juicy lost all ability to play the game competently. It was a constant battle for control that didn't end well, and doing it blindfolded would have made it impossible. Remote Assist and aimbot are technical explanations, and part of the reason we decided to go down this route was because of the Windows and Escape key presses. Multiple times in the attempt, she lost control of her character and remained stationary despite the tracker registering inputs, with control only being restored after pressing Windows and Escape. We theorized this was due to software she was using to help track the head, either aimbot pulling her out of the game or the person on remote assistance doing something that caused the game to lose focus.
What was all that? She did a lot of movement.
Only a red herring. If you look earlier in the stream, she pressed Windows to fix her eye tracker, and during the run, the eye tracker was also the reason she had to press Windows and Escape. That's right. A random tech issue put us down a rabbit hole and threw us off the trail. We knew for certain that it wasn't remote assistance at this point, which left aimbot as the best theory since it explained the head tracking and glitchy mouse inputs on the tracker. But one thing we learned about the input display by using it ourselves is that it doesn't work well with Monster Hunter, and the glitchy inputs happen when you use it normally with the game. This left us at sea without a rudder, as every theory we had wasn't panning out. But while on a call with some Monster Hunter experts, they kept repeating to me that everything they saw made sense if she could see. Aimbot explained the head tracking, but not the dodges or the ledge attack, and the players kept reiterating that she must be able to see, so I wrote
All the experts have the same thing to say. How embarrassing.
Luckily for us, Blindfold speedrun expert Bubzia replied that it's easy to see out the bottom of a blindfold and to do so undetected. He even created a video demonstrating how much of a field of view he had if he wore the blindfold so that the bottom had a small gap. And he could even see part of the monitor on his desk, so having a screen off camera that you can see is entirely possible. While exploring this theory, one thing I noticed was this instance where she looked at her keyboard before pressing the escape button. If she could see out the bottom, this made complete sense, as your field of view would be smaller, so you'd need to do pronounced head movements to see anything you were looking at. Another thing Bubzia mentioned was that it's a giveaway someone can see out the bottom of the blindfold if they are sitting with their head held high. So I can see the gap first run to this one, and it's a very pronounced change. In the last video, her head is angled down at the monitor the
her entire movement,
which we know she can see since
and she's not making any facial expressions.
The blindfold is transparent, but in this video, her head is angled up very high.
Yeah, and her mouth is
It was past midnight when I started connecting the dots, so I went to bed. But while I was asleep, Carl the Absolute Legend would find the evidence we needed, because there was a third monitor, and we can prove it. How do you prove the existence?
Yeah, I believe you. I already watched Carl's video.
We have two major pieces of evidence that prove without a doubt there's another monitor off screen. In this clip, the screen covers are lowered, but she decides there's something super important she has to do. If you look at the input display, she left clicks for almost 10 seconds. We had no idea what she was doing when we first watched this, but Carl figured it out. The only reason you'd perform a long click is if you're grabbing a window to drag it. And if you look at her mouse hand, you see that it doesn't move to the left where the other monitor is. It moves to the right, indicating another monitor off screen. But what is she dragging? If you go back a bit earlier,
holding it down and moved
it
to right.
It has OBS on the gameplay monitor, and it has a chat window docked to the right side of it. And since the left monitor is covered, the OBS window is the only spot she can read chat from. The next time we see the middle monitor after the long left click, the OBS window is gone, meaning OBS with chat is what she dragged to the right. If you're going to be doing a blindfolded attempt, there's no reason.
They're just so simple, and, you know, little mistakes will get you caught. Yeah, I think that is actual proof. It was there. The chat was there. She long clicks, and then it's not there. And it's
that you need to read chat from a hidden monitor, as it would be a major giveaway if you ever got caught. The only reason you do this is because you want to see what people are saying, and there's no way she'd make the mistake of reading chat with her monitors covered.
And I find that very silly. Why do you want to see what people are saying? Why don't you just wait till after you're done? That's such a big ego right there, you know?
Oh yeah. Everything will be unedited.
That was your chat.
With both monitors covered, and while looking to the right, she responds to a message in chat. And after this, she pretends to have read it from the left monitor where the pop-out chat was located in an attempt to cover. You can tell she knows she made a mistake as well, since she starts answering the question she read off the right monitor, then stops and lets out a giant sigh. She then makes a point of going to the left monitor and reading the message out loud, but we now know the message was read from an off-screen monitor. If this isn't convincing enough, look at what happens after the kill. Even with the covers removed, she looks to the hidden right monitor when she gets
Why are you looking?
It's like she's forgot she just faked a run and doesn't even try to hide the fact that there's a
monitor. Look at her. Have you ever heard of people who like constantly look in the mirror? Constantly look in the mirror to like body check or whatever it's called, body checking. This is kind of what she's doing with chat. Like, she cannot help but look at it. She's looking for so long. She gets a raid at one point and acknowledges it while looking at the right screen that doesn't exist before replying to more messages from the monitor that clearly isn't there. In the chat, a viewer even points out her posture, and a mod immediately covers for her by saying they do posture checks all the time. This might be true, but then why is this the only video where she's sitting straight up with her head cranked in the air? She goes on to claim that both runs are real, and that since Asmongold wanted another run, that's what he gets.
But Asmongold wanted another run. He said, I hope she comes back, I hope she does it again, and says that I did do it the first time, now here's me doing it again. And that's exactly what we did.
And it's hard to believe that this
I think
anime
we could
arc
see
all
her
started
goals
from
in
a
all
club
this.
chase for someone else's attention. To recap the evidence, while blindfolded, it's very easy to see out the bottom, and keeping your head tilted up would let you play off of a hidden monitor. In this attempt, she is angled to the right where the hidden monitor is and holds her head incredibly high compared to the last run where her head is angled down towards the gameplay monitor. There is a hidden screen to the right which can be verified as she moves OBS to this monitor, which is confirmed by the input viewer and hand cam, and even reach chat from it while looking right with both monitors covered, as well as reading from it after the run itself. This makes for an open and shut case, as it's obvious a third monitor is involved, and that's what she's playing off of, as it explains the head tracking and dodging perfectly. But the story doesn't end here. She uploaded a video of the second run and responds to some of the claims Juicy made in his analysis video that started this entire arc, and one of the first things she disputes,
I think she's enjoying
is how
herself.
she dodged without audio cues. She only mentions the double head swipe, however, which does have an audio cue where Elatrion taps his feet before doing the attack. This wasn't mentioned in my video, however, as I focused on the claw swipes, and she conveniently left out how she dodged that attack before the audio cue. And what she says next is incredible.
Then, because it's silent, I don't see it charging up, and even as a master of this hunt, I still get hit by it. Or is it that I'm just acting?
I think we know the answer to that now, but to address the point, it wouldn't make sense to dodge everything in a fake blindfolded run. Otherwise, people with no knowledge of how they work, like Asmongold, might have picked up on it right away. She even addresses the vertical camera movement.
Another main criticism of my blindfolded run is the fact that I adjust my camera to fight the monster without using lock-on. This is just how I fight it. All the time. Every time. Just because I put a blindfold on doesn't mean that that changes.
Yeah,
what's funny about this
it actually
is she
does.
offers no explanation as to how she knows.
Not probably most everything would not be the same if you're not looking. A lot of things we do in games are visual. It's not so if you don't have that, then you're gonna play completely
how much
different
to adjust
way.
the camera in the vertical. So I guess we'll just have to settle for the trust me, bro. It's hard to believe that this was all started from someone trying to get a streamer's attention. And Asmongold, if you're watching,
she did it.
I did put more effort into this video than I did at college. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next exciting episode of Abysoft Z.
Okay, that had a few more details than the other video, so I'm glad we watched it. I'm going to sub to Abysoft. I liked this video. I will leave it in the description if you want to see it for yourself. I know I haven't posted videos on this. I haven't watched them. I really want to. It's just I didn't want to watch that and then, you know, record this video. So I'm gonna go watch that and see what else is going on, because it was like an hour video. And well, this video is only 17. Carl's was only 22 minutes. So it seems like he had a lot to say. I mean, you got attention. You wanted that, I guess, which is what everyone wants online. Of course, everyone wants views and clicks and likes and stuff. That's fine. Except that you faked it. So, of course, there are other people who know about this stuff and know more than you do. Like, so why would you even attempt to fake this? And the mod in the chat banning people. Yeah, I think she just got too confident because there are too many people saying positive things about her and what she's doing. So she's going to get it in her head that it is legit. And she's doubling down. I don't know if anything else is going to happen from this, but I guess if something does, we will go over it together. And yeah, I'll leave this in the description. Once again, go sub to Abysoft. This is a good video, and I will see you in the next one.